ACEs. ACEs, emotional trauma especially, emotional trauma and neglect, are very hard to self-report. So this is another reason why 67% is probably an underestimate. So, for example, if you ask somebody, were you emotionally traumatized in childhood or did you have emotional neglect? How can a child really know at that time how they should have been treated and how they should have interacted with their parents? So often that goes underreported because it requires some skill and you need to go much deeper. When you just ask somebody that question, it's very superficial and you're going to get a superficial response. In fact, attachment trauma is what is most trauma in childhood is to do with trauma in relation to your caregivers. So when we talk about emotional trauma, a lot of people link that to PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's trauma in response to a specific discrete incident, so something specific that you can name, that you can remember. Whereas in actual fact, most trauma is relational, so it's an ambient type of trauma. It's not a single incident, but it's to do with not attaching properly with your caregivers. And there's some major research looking at mother-baby interactions. There was a study of over 6,000 mother-baby interactions, and a staggering 50% of all adults actually don't properly attach with mum. And this is also played out with the father relation as well, and it leads on to developmental trauma. And developmental trauma leads on to things like difficulty with self-regulation of emotions, anxiety, depression, difficulties, memory, concentration, focus, and also difficulty in relations in adulthood as well. And we tend to, in adulthood, how we attach in our main relationships in adulthood is often defined by how we related with our parents as well. So up to 50% of people don't fully attach properly, so that's really a huge part of it. And most people find that very difficult to self-report on being questioned, but it is actually part of what you could call emotional abuse, attachment and developmental trauma. So emotional trauma is passed down intergenerationally, and it's been shown that it gets passed both via the mother line and it can be passed down by the father line. So when, for example, a father may be emotionally traumatized, it changes the epigenetic expression of genes, and it actually affects the RNA expression of sperm. So they've done experiments in major journals where they would take sperm from traumatized male mice and they would inject it into the eggs of healthy, untraumatized females, and the progeny, the offspring of the mice, would have the same epigenetic expression as the traumatized father. So epigenetics explains why something that happens to us in our lifetime changes our epigenetic expression, and that actually is inherited by our children, which is it's a stunning understanding, but it's true, and it can pass down 7 generations. And there's research looking at certain mammals now where it's being passed down 12 generations.
Danny,